Welcome back to the Wrestling Related Podcast, where the topics are related to wrestling. The three of us are related to each other because we're siblings. I'm Josh.
I'm Washout. You see, I'm a little light-colored right now.
And I, Corey, am back.
Back in the saddle again.
Who's back?
You were about as
Back
much
again.
of a glutton for punishment as the audience that we have for this, because you actually listened to the whole hour and a half rambling that Dustin and I had.
Well, I missed out
It was
on
fun
it.
rambling.
I mean, it's one thing if I can hear it, but it's another thing, hear it in the moment, and another thing, And I didn't get a chance to say my piece, and you guys, I didn't really get to hear everybody's piece. So
Yeah.
I sat through
You
it.
heard our piece.
What? Piece of what?
I said you heard our piece. Josh and I spoke a lot.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah, I had after when I listened to it back.
Oh.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. See, now you're picking up what I'm putting down.
So, it has been a minute since we've recorded.
Just a minute.
Corey, let's kick it off.
Yo.
You get to start. What has been rolling around on your wrestling mind that you have not vented about?
Ooh. Ooh. Well, I would say that I am thrilled for the fact that I have only been back to viewing wrestling and watching wrestling for what little bit since WrestleMania. And already not this past week, but the previous weekend when we had a PLE and a PPV, I came very close, one match, mind you, from either event of being able to take a title. And I, yes, admittedly, still vote with what I want as opposed to what I think is going to happen. Because I still refuse to vote for Cargill or Hook.
Yes. Yep. And had you voted for Cargill, then you would have tied me for that win. And had you voted, well, Hook wouldn't have mattered.
Nobody was going to vote for Hook that day because, yeah.
Nobody was voting that way.
Jericho's over. Hi guys. Hi. Hi guys.
It's just so good.
Hi,
Renee.
It's
yes.
so simple.
That gimmick. And speaking about Jericho, how many more
He's
ways
a catchphrase machine.
Can that man reinvent himself?
76. Actually,
76
go to the
hours.
Jericho list.
How much more time does he have?
2002.
That's how long. Because the guy's a workaholic. He's not going to quit anytime.
No.
I mean, he's going to come out. He's going to lose all of his hair at some point in time, and they will wheel him out, and he will still grab the microphone and have a new gimmick and catchphrases so he can sell merch. He knows how this works.
Yes, he will. Yeah, he does. He knows how the business works. He knows that you got to make money, and all he has to do is come out and say,
"Hi, guys."
Pretty much anything in just a different way.
El Champion.
He can say, he says the champion, but El Champion. Instead of calling himself like an 8-time champion, he says, I'm the Ocho.
Right.
He winds up being the Ayatollah of rock and rolla. Welcome to Raw is Jericho. Like over and over and over again.
And over.
And again and again and again. Right. And he just keeps doing it, and it works.
And the funny thing is, even though I like Seth Rollins and some of these other guys, they're paraphrasing his. You know, Raw is Jericho was the first. Now it's Monday Night Rollins.
Yep.
You know, and it's just like, yeah. He's like the creator. And I wonder how many of these are ad-lib, you know, kind of like the Brian, the Bad Apple. Mm-hmm. I bet you that was ad-libbed. I bet you he came up with that like literally on the fly right there, and it stuck.
Yeah.
It stuck. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's just whatever's popping him or popping the boys. I mean, he's like, He's like, you know what? The crowd seemed to pop off it. Let me try it again the next night. Oh, I think we got a winner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where's my t-shirts? Give me my shirts.
Well, and for anybody in the wrestling business, especially the up and coming aspiring wrestlers, look at the longevity of Chris Jericho
Sure.
and the success. Because while there have been others that have had as long or longer of a career, I'm thinking of Dustin Rhodes, his longer career by a few years, but not to the success level of, championships that Jericho has had, and maybe money that's made like Jericho. But so when you look at Jericho, the way that he does this, if you really just break it down, anything he does is something that is simple and relatable, that we all say, that we all do, but he puts an emphasis on a different syllable. And all of a sudden, people catch the attention. I mean, even with like the list of Jericho, it was the click of the pen.
Click.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, little mannerisms, things.
And then,
but he also changes things. He'll change things up all over the place, from his hairstyle to his gear to just the jacket that he wears or how he's doing his hair. And I mean, yeah, he's money. But then again, like we're talking, everybody trying to paraphrase things, but let's face it, nothing is original. It's pro wrestling.
Correct.
Nothing is original.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back to, let me tell you something, brother, and you stole so much of that from Superstar Billy Graham.
Correct.
Anybody that doesn't recognize it, just go back and watch Superstar Billy Graham, and you'll go, oh, yeah, I see it now.
Well, and it's the same thing with movies too. There is no original movie anymore.
Oh yeah,
I mean, every movie is based off of something or a slight little variance of another movie.
To some regard, yes. To some regard, yes.
Plot structures and everything.
Yeah. However, let's not get into a discussion about movies. We can do that on a different podcast, because as soon as you bring up that sore subject of them not having an original idea, I'm going to go off about the on a diatribe, which over at Josh's, I pretty much dug into
Jason.
I forgot his name for a moment. Jason. Yeah. Gosh, I was going through all the J's. I was running the list. It's not Josh. It's not Justin. It's just Jason. Anyways, so we were going through, and he was talking about, hey, did you see the new Roadhouse? I'm like, no, because I saw the original. I have no desire whatsoever. Don't care who they put in. It is garbage. They tried it with Point Break, garbage. They tried it with this, garbage. They tried it with that, garbage. Just don't.
I watched it today. It actually wasn't that bad.
Garbage.
The new Roadhouse?
Compared to the
with Jake
original.
Gyllenhaal?
I watched it today.
It was horrible.
I don't think it was that bad.
There's no Swayze, and there's no Sam Elliott.
Was it as good? Absolutely not.
No.
So then there's no reason for it.
So
there was zero reason for it, other than somebody didn't have an idea. So we're getting back to wrestling, because I can go off for a while.
Okay, I will say this. Hold on. I will say this.
Please,
I would watch that. I would watch that again over Napoleon Dynamite. So there you go.
And I will never watch a movie again instead of watching Blair Witch Project.
Requiem for a Dream. Remember that one, Corey?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
The only movie I've ever taken back and asked for a refund from a video rental store.
That was me, and I got the money back.
Well, you got the money back. I wanted it back. I was like, we need that back.
Have you guys watched the Green Knight yet?
Green Knight.
Never heard of it.
I think it's called The Green Knight.
I don't think so.
Don't watch it. Trust me. It's the only one that ranks really close to Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay. Oh, hey, speaking about Chris Jericho, another thing about Chris Jericho that I am excited for, that I saw pop up last week on Dynamite, and I popped very hard. Not that, I mean, he'll be in a week from tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be able to see him. But you see all my little Funkos, and I have way too many of them, and Corey got to see those. There's way too many Funkos, if there's such a thing as too many. But Funko and WWE have had like this agreement, and back in the Vince McMahon era, no other wrestling promotion could do any business with Funko. At least no other U.S. business. New Japan wound up having a limited run, and it was the Elite. It was Cody, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega, and as soon as they did that, yeah, WWE flipped out about it, so they stopped doing any New Japan, and it was like, that was the only run that you're ever going to get. So it was like, we're never going to get AEW characters out of it. However, it may not be Funko Pop, but there are U2s, and these are going to be released. There are 4 of them. We get Jericho, Orange Cassidy, Tony Storm, and MJF. And while they are at twice as much as a Funko Pop,
timeless.
Yeah, the timeless Tony Storm, yeah, the black and white edition. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
What the?
And they're the same thing, like vinyl figurines.
Figure, or is it just a pin?
No, it's an actual figurine.
There we go.
They kind of come like this. They're not that big. I mean, they're about the same size.
And they don't have noses.
Okay.
And they don't really have noses. And they've got
their eyes are weird instead of just round circles.
Yeah,
got it.
Their eyes are definitely weird.
It's not a Funko
Orange
Pop.
Cassidy's is pretty accurate. So
yeah, the Orange Cassidy one is pretty accurate. Yeah, and even like the T-shirt. Now these are just renders and prototypes. I mean, I'm sure they'll be different. But yeah, even the T-shirt,
$30 a pop.
Yeah, at $30 a pop. And the bad part about U2s is like you order them and it's all a pre-order thing, and it's like 4 months later it actually shows up at your door.
So they're made to order.
Yes. So it is a definite limited run, and the pre-orders are on a limited ordering thing. But hey,
Josh,
I'm still excited.
Josh,
what?
How many of them we got there? There's 4.
Well,
there's $30 a pop. That's 5 at $30 a pop. You're looking at $150. Just pay me and I'll kick you in the pills. How about that?
No. I don't want to ever get kicked in the pills again. That's not fun.
That's a win-win.
The first or the 31st.
So it's a win-win-win.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, I just like collecting them, whether or not I get the timeless one or not. I mean, because this is still timeless Tony Storm. It's just not the black and white version.
Am I the only one that would only want the black and white timeless Tony Storm?
Well,
that's the only one that I would want.
I just don't know if I want to buy both variants. That's the dilemma for me.
Speaking of timeless Tony Storm. Speaking of timeless Tony Storm.
Yes.
Who else caught the promo that she had this past weekend talking about
on Collision?
Forbidden Door? Oh, I was like, they let that through? What? What's going on? Meanwhile, you got Luther standing back there behind her, just like, woo.
Yeah.
It was so awkward.
And Mariah May cutting that little bit of a promo on Saraya, and I was like, okay, this is
okay.
This
See where you're
good.
Going?
I hope when it comes to, we know that it's eventually going to happen. We know that we're going to get Mariah versus Tony at some point. Mm-hmm. Please drag it out for another couple years. Take note out of like Triple H booking and the slow booking that he had with the Bloodline Sami Zayn thing. Drag this out and milk it for all it's worth. Absolutely. Keep dropping the little subtle things. Get us wondering when it's actually going to happen, and don't let it happen. And then finally, when it does, okay, then we're ready for it. But yeah, I'm not ready. Don't rush this. We're having too much fun right now.
The only other thing, let's see, from last night, the whole Dominic and Liv.
Dominic Liv Morgan.
Yeah, and then that. Did you happen to catch what happened on Instagram or on social? So she
I
wound
don't
up
think so.
popping her profile. Now, granted, it's a profile. I'm sure they got somebody at the Fed that's managing that. But so as the profile, she wound up liking and commenting every single post that he had on Instagram, to which then he screenshot that she liked every single one of those with a caption that says, "Really?" To which then she just kept going back and forth with her or with him. And even saw today that JD wound up having a post in the comments of commenting that had something to do with the mustache. And that's the reason for it. And I'm just like, yeah, using all your resources, let's pull all these threads if we're gonna do it.
All the resources. Yeah, the way that the matches have been going, the way the storylines have been going, August is going to be a very fun month for wrestling between SummerSlam, All In, All Out. Yeah, there's some good things that they're building. Both companies building up towards, and I'm here for
So
it. I like it.
speaking about last night, was it just me, or was the biggest pop of the night Otis?
By far.
My goodness, they went crazy.
I'm sitting in the chair and Chad Gable's got me so annoyed that I'm like, oh my, somebody squish this little son of a, come on, Otis. And I'm catching myself talking to the TV. Come on, Otis. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a moment during that segment, like when Otis intervenes, the pop happens. It's like, oh yeah. And then it was like,
it's gonna happen.
Oh no. Because now we're going to get the payoff, and I don't want the payoff. I want to drag it out a little bit more. So then when there was that little bit of a swerve at the end and we get, no, Chad Gable's happy. Then I'm like, yes, we get to drag it out at least another week.
Now, did you catch
it's going to go to SummerSlam?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
Did you catch that when the female tag champs were walking in, that in the background you had Chad Gable talking to the other two amateur guys? What are their names? That he was on camera talking to a couple weeks back. Yes.
Yeah.
I can't remember their names. But yeah.
Yeah, the Forgettable Brothers. Got them. So
Creed Brothers.
Those guys.
That was us.
That's it.
Good.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they had them standing in the background, catching them, and it was like, yeah, we're gonna play this up, and it's gonna be, I think we're gonna have like a 6-man tag match or something at some point.
So what if?
What if we're playing What If now? Cool.
We're playing a What If. Do we have any of the? Do we have any idea who's in the Money in the Bank yet?
I don't think they've said anything.
I don't think so.
So what if Otis wins Money in the Bank?
They commented on it last night.
Because that was one of the biggest things. When he wound up winning Money in the Bank a few years back, that was huge. Everybody loved it. Everybody's all in for it. And then
they took
nothing.
It away.
And it was like, that was the biggest disappointment. And it was just like, oh, that's poor booking. But what if he gets Money in the Bank back? What if we wind up seeing Chad Gable actually win the Intercontinental belt and Otis cashes in on Chad?
That would be good.
Like, pull almost like a Seth Rollins, like running down there, and almost immediately, as soon as he wins, Otis goes straight in. Or even being out there with him.
If the Money in the Bank gets you one title match, you really want to spend it on the IC belt.
What better way to help continue to build up the IC belt?
I was going to say, and I would, but that's me. I'm an oddball. But I mean, Otis could run in and interfere and cost him the title all the live long day.
Yeah. I think it would be fun, especially if Otis does win, and then it's like Chad wanting Otis to use it for him. So let me use your and
like a Christian Cage Luchasaurus thing.
Yeah. And play that up for a little bit. So then when Otis finally does cash it in and Chad tries to go in and take it, then he just chucked Chad out. Like, no, I'm using it instead. I mean, there's a few different ways that could happen, and that could be fun.
A lot of directions.
I still think at this point in time, we just want to see the payoff of him just like completely blindsiding him and throwing down. Which then he's going to go to the brothers, and then they're going to side with Sammy. And
right. And you got
it's going to take him putting his hands on the chick.
Maxine,
what's her name?
Maxine.
That's it.
Yep. That's what'll wind up doing it. And each time it seems like he's going to. I mean, and obviously you see that because Otis looks to the outside and Maxine's there nursing her ankle, and he turns around and he's furious. And that's what got him attacking Sammy. So it was like, it was good storytelling. It's just, it's such good storytelling.
But I mean, you can have stories all day long, but if you don't have the people executing them correctly, the story's nothing.
It takes the right person to be able to tell the story. I mean, right. You've got to have the right character in there.
Story-wise, what do you guys think of
Gyllenhaal in the Roadhouse?
What do you guys think of the teased retirement for AJ Styles?
I loved it.
I liked the fact that it was teased, and the way it was teased was exactly like Mark Henry. Like, almost to a T. And it was just a little, like, I think Mark even said that on Busted Open, where he had mentioned he felt like it was a sign of respect to him because of all of the similarities in it. Like, it was blatantly obvious that's what he was doing.
And he liked it, from what I hear.
Oh yeah, loved it. Yeah, AJ's, he's too in his element. He's still good. So good. He can't hang it up.
This is pro wrestling. This is not Thursday night sitcoms where Jerry Seinfeld wants to go out on top. No. You have 50 different retirements. You milk this until the end, until they won't let you go on anymore.
Yep. Hey, before we go on to a different topic, I've got a Post-it note here. I reminded myself that John Hayes had asked, question of the week, have you guys taught your kids any wrestling moves to use on each other and made it look like they were battling out in public?
To use on each other? No. Have I thrown my kids around with power bombs, choke slams, body slams, and all the sort, trying to avoid the ceiling fan? Oh, since birth.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
they'll know how to bump without understanding why they know how to bump.
Yeah.
So the story I like to tell is back when my oldest, Carter, when he couldn't have been more than a year old, maybe 10 months, something like that. We're out at a restaurant one time, and it was me, Danielle, my wife, and Carter, and we're sitting there, and I wrestled with the boys all the time. And I mean, I even wrestled with Eliana a little bit growing up. I've tamed back a little bit with the twins, even though I still do a little bit, but not as much, because they don't understand that, dad's just playing. Mm-hmm. Well, with Carter, we're out in this restaurant, and I'm messing around with him. I'm playing with him, roughhousing with him, and I get him in this chin lock. So his face is right here, and I did the ever popular, reach around and cross face, but I hit my own arm. And all of a sudden, my wife's like, "Dustin, stop." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Look." And I turn and I look, and there's an older lady sitting there grabbing her phone and getting ready. And I'm like, he's smiling. I didn't hit him. It's okay. And Carter was just like, had the goofy face on. But yeah, I mean, You can't not wrestle with your kids.
Never out in public. Like I never taught them anything to use out in public. I don't even think I taught them anything to use on each other. And that may be because one boy and 3 girls. And I just don't want him beating on his sisters at all. And told them to leave him alone. But on me, yes, they did lots of wrestling moves on me. I did lots of wrestling moves on them. Reagan was probably the worst because when she was a toddler, she would just crawl all over, and before I knew it, she had like a leg scissors, figure 4 on me, and doing like a leg guillotine or whatever they call that, anaconda. Man, she would just constantly...
Go to the light.
Yes, and that's what it was. She would put me to sleep so quick, and it was like, okay, reaching in, prying a toddler's legs off. The whole time she's just giggling. And she had pretty good accuracy when throwing things. But yes, around the house, swimming pools. Oh yeah. All that stuff. Out in public. Nah. Yeah. For the same reason you would say, Dustin, I just didn't want anybody to call the cops on me.
Yeah. And my oldest has been so soft-hearted up until the teenage hormones kick in, and now she's like, "Is it okay to run people over on the street?" I'm like, "I'll consider it. Depends on who it is." The youngest, the boy, I mean, you can't roughhouse with your sisters. You roughhouse with daddy, and that's about it.
Yep.
Because he just doesn't have a brother. And then Zoe's the one that, we got to be careful because she's the one that'll go out for MMA. And if I get called by the cops in the middle of the night, I know which one it is.
John, I will say,
you don't play.
I will say, as far as out in public, John, I will say that there was a time when Corey was in college, and I think Josh, you were at college there around the same time, or getting ready to. Well, we would always go up to Corey's, and we'd always turn around and watch pay-per-views, and we'd had friends and stuff like that over. And was it a family video that was just down the road from the college, Corey? You remember that video store that was just down the road there a little ways? Anyway, we went there one day.
That was an expensive cover charge. No.
There's a video store down the road from.
No, that was
AEW.
my way of saying I was drunk a lot. So.
Okay, Josh, you remember what that video store was? It doesn't really matter.
I'm pretty sure it was a family video.
So I do remember one time in public, we're down there, and all of a sudden, we had a buddy of ours, Anthony, who he just needed money. He needed money to turn around and he liked his alcohol, and he turned around and he would let me perform wrestling moves on him in public, out in the yard, wherever it was, just to turn around and make, $5 or something like that. And there was one time that we were at that video store and we're out in the parking lot, and we just start roughhousing and doing some wrestling moves, and I slam him into the top of the hood of the car, and and he sells it like it's like I just killed him, and sure enough, somebody ended up calling somebody on us because there was a fight out in the parking lot, and we're like, no, we're just playing. It's okay. But yeah. I think we learned from that, so that's why we didn't tell our kids, don't do this in public.
Right. Yeah. Definitely not the smartest idea to do that stuff.
Nope.
Dustin, in our little chat message, you had said something about favorite match of the week.
Favorite match of
the
week.
Can I guess what your favorite match of the week was?
You could probably guess what it is, but let me start with my honorable mention.
Okay.
Let me start with my honorable mention. My honorable mention was Dragon Lee and Finn Balor.
Good match.
I thought that was a great match. Both guys can work so well.
Yep.
So well. And they just pulled it off. Surprisingly, I am even becoming more of a Ricochet fan because he carried that whole match with Breaker.
That was the best Braun Breaker match I've seen.
Me too.
It's the only one I've actually watched all of, and that's keeping in mind that the majority of his don't last more than 30 seconds.
Correct. Yeah, but they played that one very well. But
it
go
was
ahead,
because there was a moment even with the Ricochet Braun Breaker that I thought, oh, is Ricochet actually going to win?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they had me for a second. And you're right. The Finn Balor Dragon Lee,
so good.
On paper, it should be as good as it was. I don't know why I was expecting less. Maybe because they haven't really let Finn Balor do what he does.
Right.
So that could be it.
And it's Monday night. Sometimes they hold back a little bit on TV.
Yep. And it was Monday night. What would be a shock to me, or maybe not a shock to me, is if you thought that the best match actually came from Saturday night.
Yes, it did. 100%
Ospreay
hands down.
Versus Kyle O'Reilly.
Kyle O'Reilly. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
That was good.
I've watched it twice, and I'm probably going to watch it again.
Yep.
Because it was so good. It was so good. And I've always been a Kyle O'Reilly fan, even back when him and Finn Balor were going at it in, NXT and then into the WWE. And it was just like, man, they were so brutal. And then when I saw that, he's going against Will Ospreay, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And it was. It lived up to what my expectations were.
I like the fact that with Will Ospreay as the international champion, they're actually putting real competition in for him. With a lot of title matches you get, it's like, oh, we're just going to build the title, so we're going to throw in Jobber A and Jobber B, and then it's a squash match. And it's like, that doesn't do anything to really build the title. I would prefer titles get changed all the time as long as there's actual competition in there. I don't like it when it's just a constant job thing. Now, the flip side of that is then, you get a Roman Reigns that carries a title for like 4 years, but he never defends it. But when he does defend it, at least it's a viable competitor. Deal. But yeah, the people that they're throwing at Will Ospreay, it's exciting. I'm excited to see Will Ospreay versus Swerve at Forbidden Door.
Forbidden Door.
Because I can't fathom that coming Wednesday that Roderick Strong is going to beat Swerve. Unless he's injured and we just don't know about it, I don't see that happening.
So I thought I just finished up the match about 15 minutes before hopping on because I had kids here the weekend. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was that match was a solid 8.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still just little pieces that I'm like, we're going through the motions instead of making me believe every single thing. And I need to believe every single step. Don't take me out of it for me to really, really buy in. I was sitting there thinking, man, there's one match that I want to see Ospreay in, and it's not Swerve. It's him against Malachi Black.
No.
I want to see him against Black.
Yeah.
Because Black he's got that striking similarity with O'Reilly, but he's also got that dark viciousness that he can tap into.
And the aerial ability.
And his approach is very much more methodical and sudden.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see him like really running much unless he's like headed in for a big move. Mm-hmm. He's not going to try and chase somebody down or anything. I mean, he's going to stalk them before hitting them with whatever he needs to. So I think that would be really interesting to see. And much like the match the previous week between Black and O'Reilly was like, wow, that was different. But I want to see some of this.
Could it be that we get a Malachi Black versus a Will Ospreay at like All In Wembley? You get a couple European guys when they're in London. Because like I agree with you. I want to see Malachi Black versus Will Ospreay, but I don't want to see them on any time limit because I have very high expectations for that.
But before that, I'd really want to see Buddy Matthews against Will Ospreay. I think that would be a good match as well.
Yeah.
That's got to happen before Malachi.
It would, but I would be disappointed if they tap back into, all right, we just got done seeing Adam Copeland have to go through the House of Black before he gets to Malachi. Now Ospreay's got to go through the House of Black before he gets to Malachi. No. He's the champion. If Malachi wants the title, go get the title. The champion shouldn't have to jump through hoops to get a contender. There's plenty of contenders.
Right.
Whereas with the Adam Copeland thing, it was that there's more of a personal vendetta there. It wasn't about the title, so that's why Copeland was having to go through these different steps to get to where he wanted.
But that's the way the House of Black works. I mean, the House of Black, you know, even in a trios tag match or something like that, it's a chess move for Malachi Black. He sends his pawns in, he sends his knights in, or whatever it is, and he has them work them, and then he takes that information in before he even steps in the ring. Yeah. I mean, you very rarely see Malachi Black starting the match.
Well, I'm wondering what they're going to do. Like, I'm also wondering with United Empire, how those guys are doing. I can't remember the bigger guy's name that was out and he was injured and not sure when he would be coming back. But obviously, you know, All In would be perfect timing for those guys to kind of come back in. And that's the thing. Like, I think the only time I can remember seeing Malachi and Ospreay square off was when there was 6-man matches, when it was like trios with House of Black versus United Empire. That's the only time I can think of. But yeah, that would be a phenomenal match.
It'd be good.
And at the same time, I am still excited to see Swerve, because it's like, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. Swerve has been really picking it up. One of the things I think I forgot to mention about from Double or Nothing, in the Swerve Christian Cage match, when Swerve did the house call on Christian Cage when he was going for the spear in midair, it's like, that was a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
My frustration with Swerve is that they can't make up their mind whether he's a baby or a heel. You know, it's just depending upon whatever the opponent is, and
at the same time, Swerve's not changing his character at all. Like,
I can't get that invested in it. So
yeah, I kind of like it.
It's tough for me.
Yeah, I kind of like it just because it feels more authentic. Like, to me, what he's portraying on TV, I fully expect that that's him. Like, it just seems really authentic to who he would be, where some people are not going to like him and some people are going to love him, and you may like what he does here, but you're not going to like what he does here, and he just doesn't care.
Sure, but it doesn't. I mean, MJF does the same thing. But he's clearly over with the fans and clearly a baby. You put him in against another baby, it's not going to have the same feel. It's not going to have the same thing with Swerve, I don't think. MJF could have an easier time pulling that off, but even then, he's not going to go full-blown, horrible, despicable heel, even though that's his character. Whereas Swerve isn't even going that far, but yet, so for him, I don't know. Pick a channel is all I'm saying.
Yeah. And nobody knows what MJF's going to do now. You know, his whole character has changed.
Who knows?
So who knows?
Yeah, true. No idea.
Yeah, I mean, after stealing Triple H's jacket from like 10 years ago, I mean, what else can a guy do?
Right. Yep.
Well, can we do a complete 180? And I do want to bring up the fact that over the course of the last week, since the last time Josh and I were talking, something big has happened on a wrestling show that we do not regularly watch, meaning NXT.
Right.
As of last week.
Yeah.
With Jordynne Grace, All Ego, Ethan Page. You know, you got all these guys coming in. It's like, oh. And then Jordynne Grace is wrestling, you know, just this evening. And in fact, when we get done, I will be probably watching that. Otherwise, I'll watch it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the rumor mill, I'm told something about that agreement with TNA is that we're going to have NXT or Fed people going and working on Impact, crossing over. So it's supposed to be a one-off appearance, and if it played off, then doing a crossover thing. That apparently this all started back with the Women's Royal Rumble when she wound up making an appearance, and I don't know if she was the only one. You guys would know better than I.
The previous year, Mickey James came back when she was the champion.
There you go.
Came into it.
Yeah, right.
But I think this one was one of those that they were, from what I had read, they're like, hey, we've got a few people that we really want to try this out with, but we're going to test it. We need you to send one person and see how this goes. And Jordynne did such a great job that they're like, okay, now let's see what we can do.
I mean, from what little bit I've seen of her, this is I mean, she's got a great look.
She's good.
And she's in amazing shape, and she can go.
She's good. I don't know, is she married
she's not going to just stand there and flex.
Yeah. And she's, I think, married to Jonathan Gresham. And so...
Is she really?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's married or engaged or just dating, but yeah, her and Jonathan Gresham, to the best of my knowledge, now
I think.
Yeah.
So on a side note, Josh, you might have to go back and look at this. And I just got to thinking about it. I said Mickey James, and we're talking about Jordynne Grace, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, did I just call her Jamie Grace, which is the singer?
I'm pretty sure it was Jordan. If not, you meant Jordan. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, and Jordynne Grace has come so far from when she first started.
Correct.
I mean, she's worked so hard on just her appearance and her ring ability, and she's just amazing right now.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Her and Jonathan Gresham have been married since 2020.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So that would be, I mean, you've got to give some credit to that. I mean, even look at a lot of those female wrestlers that have spouses who are also wrestlers. Mm-hmm. Their in-ring ability jumps. And it's, I think a lot of that is just because you've got a live-in wrestling opponent. It's like you got somebody to bounce ideas off of and, wrestle in or out of the ring.
Yep.
So yeah, there's obviously a little bit that does that. I mean, I think of, like the
Rhea Ripley,
Ripley. I think of Zelina Vega. I think of Becky Lynch. Segue for Becky Lynch. Question: Tommy Dreamer said exactly what I was thinking out loud. Could we see Becky Lynch show up at All In London against Mercedes?
From what I hear, she was planning an extended leave.
Correct.
After WrestleMania. An extended leave, especially with Rollins being out for a while to rehab his issue. And he did re-up his contract, right?
Yes. I don't know the details on how long that was, but yes.
Who knows? But the Fed generally will put their time on pause while they're out injured.
Yep.
Because they're paying for the time on TV. But she wanted time off for that. They do have little ones at home, at least one. And
that are the exact same age as friends John Moxley and Renee Paquette's.
Sure.
And they're close.
Sure. And AEW is known for turning around and just paying for a one night.
Could I see Tony Khan drop 7 figures for her to show up in London and wrestle one match? Yep.
Absolutely.
He could, yes. I would not be shocked at that. To do things on a regular, consistent basis, he would have to pretty much say, all right, Monet, you're the highest paid female wrestling right now.
And now you're not.
Until your friend gets here, and then we change gears.
And I think even if he threw...
And he'll drop a like, how many figures is that? I can't count that high.
I think she got a $10 million deal.
Yeah, he'd drop $10 million on Becky.
I think
Lynch,
he would drop $10 million on Becky in a heartbeat. I don't think he would bat an eye at it. He's obvious. Anybody in their right mind, even those in their wrong mind, would be interested in having Becky Lynch being in your company if you can afford it. If you could get her in,
if you can afford it,
on whatever basis she is willing to do. And that's the thing that. The one thing when you start listening to what a lot of these AEW wrestlers who have worked in the Fed before and now they're in AEW, the majority of them say they love the schedule. The ones that don't like the schedule are the ones that are closer to the end of their career and they're wanting more time, more matches, more. They're like, hey, my bump card is coming to a close. I need to fill it up fast.
Now, I've also heard people expressing that there is a world of difference between spending 2 or 3 years of prime time that you have available at AEW versus the exposure that you can get with the WWE.
Yeah.
So while they're still able to get a lot of exposure and they open up their schedule huge, they get big payouts and so on and so forth, it's still not WWE.
Agreed.
But unless you are on TV consistently with the WWE,
agreed.
Then, I mean, that's kind of an easy no-brainer. Wait, I'm not getting as much TV time here. I can get more TV time with less dates.
But let's just say this, any wrestler, to be honest with one another, there is a sense of pride. You would not be doing what you're doing unless you were wanting to see yourself in a certain spot, whether you want to see yourself a champion, whether you want to see yourself on TV. And the fact that Wembley last year was the highest paid wrestling event to date, and the fact that this year they're looking at surpassing it, you think there might be a little bit in Becky Lynch or Becky Quinn in her mind
being
thinking,
Irish.
All I have to do is show up and I will be part of the biggest event in the history of wrestling.
Yeah.
It's a bragging right. It's a monumental.
And to do it with
event.
One of her friends.
Correct.
And biggest event until London winds up getting WrestleMania like they've been lobbying for the last year. And Triple H is publicly saying, let's talk.
And then at that point, I think WWE would.
But then it's going to become a battle between them and Saudi of who's going to pay more money. And Saudi's got way more money.
More money.
Yeah.
But the only thing I don't like about that is, WWE, they turn around and, they take those 48 matches that AEW has in one night and they just split it over, 24 in each day. But they combine the number and they're like, hey, this is the biggest sporting event of WrestleMania because we had 2 nights of this much. No. That's not the biggest. The biggest is a one-night event. How many paid did you have for that one night?
Okay, hang on.
Yes, and
that's what'll happen.
Yes,
with
and no.
But with that caveat, for AEW sit there and start bragging about the highest paid, yeah. It's because you're charging $50 a pop for every person watching it at home. It's because of God knows how much you're paying for every single ticket in attendance. That is way more than the last time the Fed was selling out Wembley. So you're kind of splitting hairs. I mean, when
they didn't
tickets are
call
$20
the highest gate
this year.
they called the highest paid attendance. So they said it was the
pay-per-views,
just the amount of tickets that were paid to be in attendance, which was not the amount of people that actually showed up.
Not number of tickets, amount of revenue.
No, it was the amount of it was the highest paid attendance. So one ticket, one person.
Highest paid attendance.
So they came up with 80,000 because they sold 80,000 tickets. I think it wound up making like, I don't know, over 2 million is what the gate was.
Yeah,
which I think might have been the highest gate for the UK, but
sure.
The only thing it had to go with was what, like 93 SummerSlam or whatever. So it's like inflation and everything after 20 plus 30 years. It's like,
and I didn't see the crowd at that particular event. I mean, and I don't know what Wembley has done as far as renovations or adding on and whatnot, but I've seen, my goodness, I mean, going all the way back to when it was Bulldog and Bret Hart. I mean, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think that one was 70,000, if I remember, is what they had. And that was WWE attendance, which Vince is on record saying when he counts attendance, it's every person in the building, not only fans, it's employees, it's vendors, it's parking lot attendance, it is police that is around the area. And then he does the
I would be more likely to believe what the venue is saying the attendance rate is, as opposed to what any promotion owner is going to say. Because
I think what the venue did, if I remember right, the venue confirmed paid ticket sales. So the paid attendance, they confirmed the number AEW gave was the paid attendance. But the turnstile attendance was less. Because they're like, and that was people that didn't show up for whatever reason, that weren't in attendance. And you'll have that because a lot of people, they'll wind up buying tickets. You get the people that are scalping and they're like, I'm going to buy 20 because that's my max and I'm going to try to sell them. And it's like, oh, you sold 10, but you couldn't sell the others. So there's always going to be a little bit of that variable. And of course, then for that night, it's like the only thing you can really say that night with a firm hard count is going to be, here's how many tickets were sold. Because when you're making your announcement at the beginning of the pay-per-view, you don't know the turnstile numbers because what if somebody shows up late? You can at least say, hey, here's how many we sold.
And how can you count them when they're at concessions or at the merch table or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
And when it comes to the tickets and the attendance, I'm a fan of both ways of doing it. I like the fact that AEW can claim the highest paid attendance. That's amazing for a one-night event. I also think it's amazing that WWE is able to do 140,000 people over 2 nights.
Over 2 nights.
Like, now it's not 140,000 people because I think probably half of them are getting 2-night, both night tickets. But still, I don't care if it's the same person. It's like, that's amazing. The fact that the wrestling business is that hot.
Yep.
And for me, I don't care about the digits on the screen. I don't care about what they're saying. I just want to see that big wide pan across the whole stadium, the whole venue, and watch that sea of people.
Yep.
That's what happened at WrestleMania 3 when we watched that closed caption, was just seeing the number of people. I didn't pay attention to what the number was. I didn't even hear the number or see it until later when they put it on TV a million different times. It was really just, we're sitting there and looking at all these people and saying, oh, we got all this empty space and look at the people. It was crazy.
Yeah. And I still think talking about WrestleMania 3, I still think that is one of the best things that they ever did was, having the little trolley wire driving people down that long stretch that they have, and they're not getting blown up by the time they get to the ring.
To get in the ring.
Wow, that's part of the reason why they did it.
Yeah.
So,
switching gears real quick to just strictly rumor, as far as I know. We had talked a while back about a possibility of a women's IC belt. I guess there's a whole lot more talk about that coming up. In fact, something about an NXT
North American
mid
card,
card,
yeah.
is something that they've like really been pleased with, which may lead into that because there's more chatter about it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But either way,
I'm glad they're chatting about it. I don't like the idea though. And just because I don't think that the women's roster in WWE is deep enough to actually handle it.
What if, though, pulling in some of these other talents from these other feds while maintaining that might change it though.
That would work. Mm-hmm. If you pull in the TNA talent, that will work. Which is also kind of why I like the fact that they're using Jordynne Grace, because it's like, hey, now you've got a little bit of an option that you can start to tap into this.
Now, speaking of the TNA talent, I heard that, and again, just strictly rumor and conjecture, that sometime within the last few months, TNA management has been okay with having some conversations with Tessa Blanchard again. That she's done a complete 180 as far as her attitude and whatnot, and so they're like, we can talk.
I had heard that too.
See where we're at.
I had heard that too. That would be fantastic. She is a fantastic in-ring talent. I would have
attitude that's concerning.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, people change. You can easily, hey, admit you make a mistake and recover from that. And to me, when somebody does make a mistake, and the big thing is, do you acknowledge it? Have you apologized for it? And the person that you actually offended, have they forgiven you of it? Once they do, then the rest of us can start to get over it, or should be able to, because if they haven't, there's a problem.
Right.
But to me,
apparently is the case.
Yeah, to me, the one that she had done, she's like, yeah, we're good.
Right.
Yeah, and I think she's probably, spent her time in exile long enough that if she's interested and somebody else is interested, why not? Yeah, that would be a great pickup for them. They've got some options there. I know. Did Julia actually sign with them? I know she was at one of the events that she was like in the crowd or something. But
I heard she had, but
I also heard that she's like out with an injury, like a wrist or elbow or I don't know, something like that. Which, I mean, one of the best Stardom talent there is. So if they did get her, great pickup. Everybody wanted her. So that would be fantastic. But even at that, it's like, I think for WWE to have a mid-card women's championship, they probably need 4 or 5 more that can go.
Your roster needs to get deeper.
Yeah. Especially with Becky being out and Charlotte's still not back. It's like, you got to go deep.
But don't you think some of that female talent in NXT is actually performing better than the male talent in NXT right now?
Yes.
And they could pull them up very easily.
Yes, and they should.
I have a solution for NXT.
Okay.
I have a solution for NXT. Tell everybody there to shut up and put Jim Cornette in front of the mic.
That could work,
because none of them can cut a promo or talk a butt into a seat or convince me that they are anything special, let alone that they're tough. But Jim Cornette will create a riot with just talking.
Now, I will say, when Mandy Rose was there and Mandy Rose was the champion, She cut a great promo, and she did a great job.
But
how long was she there, though?
A long time until they found out she was doing OnlyFans.
But Mandy Rose had been main roster and in some of the best storylines, like the Mandy Rose Otis storyline. That's what got Otis and his popularity so big.
Yep.
So Mandy Rose had already had the main roster experience and the ability to cut promos. And then they sent her down there to try to help them out. And yeah, she just took over and dominated.
Yep.
And that was the, like, one of the stupidest things that WWE did by, you better stop making your $2 million a month or else we're going to fire you.
And she's like,
bye.
See ya.
$2 million a month. Bye.
It was some ridiculous figure. We won't get started on my thoughts on that whole deal, but still, the
I'll take
WWE's
pictures and post my feet. I don't care.
WWE's policy of not,
I think it'll change now.
Of not letting people have their side hustles and side projects. I mean, I'm glad that it's pretty much over and they've stopped it. But man, they burnt so many
like
bridges
the whole
by
Twitch
doing that.
And everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
They lost so many people by doing that.
When you got guys that essentially have a show about gaming, and I don't know, can't let them game and make money off it.
Yep. And I think we can probably thank Matt Cardona for creating the whole controversy in the first place, because he got himself over even when WWE didn't want to by being the internet champion with his whole vlog and show and everything. And then all of a sudden you make money and they're like, well, see, we'll just start taking 40% of everything that you make. Just like,
so was there anything else over the course of the last week that was memorable?
Nope.
No?
I guess not.
Not that I can think of. Oh, other than a brief pop from me. A brief pop when after the Tony Storm, Mariah May backstage promo, and then they said, okay, now we're going to go to a bar, and it turns and you see Nigel McGuinness stand up. I didn't connect the dot that he was going to go to a bar. I just saw Nigel McGuinness stand up, and I was like, is he going to go to the ring and cut a promo on Bryan Danielson?
No.
He should. I want to see the American Dragon versus Nigel McGuinness at Wembley.
Tony better bring out his pocketbook and his checkbook a little deeper.
One more time, but only if he does his hair.
Hey, he's looking in pretty good shape. When he stood up, I was like,
Oh, he might be able to go. Yep. He might be able to go.
All right, I think that's all we got for this week.
I will say from the last week, I have huge disappointment over Adam Copeland being out. And being out for so long, resulting in them stripping him of the belt.
He worked so hard.
A fractured tibia.
Yeah.
It's not going to take 2 months.
I'm not mad that it looks like they're going to let Jungle Boy or Jack Perry take that. I'm not mad about that.
I am. He hasn't done anything.
At the same time, I like my booking idea better and just have Adam Copeland lay down and let Malachi Black win it.
Or they could do any number of things. Hand him the belt as a interim.
Yeah, he's my proxy.
They did the interim for however long with the women's title.
We're not talking about Freebird rules. We're talking about House of Brood rules. Any one of us can defend this at any point in time because we are a collective.
We identify as...
We are Adam Copeland.
Woof.
Could you imagine how that would play out?
Back chair booking.
Like they all walk down Even with Adam Copeland in his crutches, they all walk down for any match and they wait to see who the opponent is. And all of a sudden it's like, they want to bring out, bring out Will Ospreay. And all of a sudden, okay, Malachi Black rolls in. You bring in Powerhouse Hobbs. Well, now Brody King hops in. And it's like, we're going to match whatever you get because we are like, that would be cool.
And then they bring in the super undefeated guy, and then two guys roll in.
There you go.
Change it all together.
Yep.
But I mean, to think that Adam Copeland, as creative as he is, couldn't come up with ideas and work with Tony Khan to be cutting them. And I understand he wants to be at home and recovering and recuperating and whatnot, but like he can't get a black background, put a spotlight on his face, and cut promos for the next 2 months.
Correct. You could book that so easily.
Easy.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Well, and let's just say this moving forward. Let's finish this up and say, for you viewers out there or listeners that are listening, ask some questions so you don't have to listen to us all ramble over and over. And we can answer some questions and we can, interact with you guys. John, keep the questions coming.
That won't stop us.
Well, it won't stop some of us.
That's true.
So anyway.
All right. That's all we got. Till next week. See you later.
Later.